I was trying to think the other day about how old I must have been when I first heard about it. It's odd. Something like that, you think, would be pretty much seared into my very cortex. But no. I guess I was maybe 7 or 8. I do recall a friend at school saying her uncle had bought one, and she'd seen it herself. Of course, we all know how kids lie. And looking back now, I suspect at that age, she wouldn't have recognised one if it had been sat right next to her. But I was young, and I always believed everything anybody ever told me. You see, as a child, you begin to realise that there are lots of things that grown-ups have to do, that you don't. And one day, perhaps, when you're taller, older, and sadly a bit fatter, things will change. As a kid, it made perfect sense, as almost all things do for kids. Then, of course, as you enter your teens, you begin to question things more. You want to know the why as much as the how. I remember it seeming odd that everybody talked about this thing, yet nobody could ever tell me what it looked like. People were always vague when they talked about it, never really making it clear if they did actually own it, or once had it, or secretly longed for it. However, it quickly became clear to me that if anybody did have it, well, they were keeping it very secret. I had always assumed that it was something you had to buy. After all, how else could you get it? But the stories I have heard or read seem to suggest that some people had been given it. Some people had simply found it. But most worryingly of all, some people had stolen it. Once I knew this, I of course realised why everybody was always so mysterious as to whether they had it or not. Or to admit you have it, or to show it to other people, was almost like asking somebody to take it away from you. As I left my teenage years and strode into adulthood, I found myself living in a world obsessed by it. This despite the fact that its image had never been worse. After all, as an object, it's often faulty and looks out of place no matter where you keep it. As a service, it's frequently slow and rarely up to the task at hand. And as a concept, well, perhaps its time has simply passed. Still, maybe I'm wrong. Many will tell you it's the greatest thing humanity has ever held in its grasp. It saves many more lives than it kills. It's brought so many together who would otherwise be alone. And the amazing advances in production means it is now small enough to hold in the palm of your hand. But ultimately, I guess I'm still none more the wiser than my 8-year-old friend was all those years ago. I'm not even sure if I've ever really wanted it. Was it just the fact that everybody else had it? I don't have it, just in case any of you are thinking that. I've never been able to save up enough money. I just don't know the right people, and a life of crime seems, well, too much like hard work. I suspect somebody listening right now could have one. You strike me as the type of people that might. Although, that's not a criticism. You are who you are. I can hardly judge, can I? maybe this is just what I want you to think. If I did have one, or wouldn't this be the perfect way to hide it from you? Talking on the radio like this, as if I had no clue or desire. Maybe it sat next to me right now. Maybe. Whether you think I have it or not, whether anybody really has it, or whether something you've never seen can ever truly exist, just try to keep in mind there are millions of things you could have. So why limit yourself to just one? I guess ultimately you've just got to learn to think for yourself and not follow a MacGuffin.
The Cornucopia Radio Show podcast, proving there's more to the internet than just pornography, skateboarding dogs, and Nigerian businessmen.